We're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to check this as we always do. I'm going to put this on the my little phone, put it here, and then I can see if we're on there as well.
Where's the third one? We're down
the third wheel. I don't know. He reckons he's got to do something picking up Charlotte. But is there an early football match on?
I don't know, but is he not making a point for you missing last week?
I was dying, right? I literally had. Hold on, I think my thing's gone a little bit fuzzy here.
Is it the sauna kicking out still?
It's what?
The sauna.
It's sauna. Yeah, you don't want to see me without my top one. I was dying. I mean, I literally had the last rites read to me. It was that serious. Yeah. Oh, I was poor. I was really, really bad. I never get ill. Right, never get ill. But once every 3 or 4 years, I might get something that knocks me off my feet for a day, 2 days. This started on the Monday, and I wasn't felt right until the following Monday. It was really bad. I lost 5 kilo. I lost nearly a stone.
That's a bonus.
Yeah, it was. I every cloud and all that silver lining. Yeah, unfortunately, it's the way I lost it. It wasn't very healthy, and it certainly didn't feel good at the time. But no, I'm all right now. But I think Jez is going to pick the little one up. Or he's doing something with Charlotte, so totally understand that. Yeah, exactly. How's your week been since we've last spoke?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, it's been busy as always. Facebook side really busy. I think like everyone else at the moment, we've been looking at ways to hopefully generate more business for the agencies, state agency side. And I know we were chatting about this, weren't we? We were talking about fees and also how to keep fees high at the moment, because there's a lot of agents who are dropping their fees at the moment. And I don't know what your opinion is on that, but there seems to be a lot of it going on at the moment.
Yeah, huge amount. I mean, to the point where it's almost getting embarrassing. We've given a slight little bit of flexibility to some of our team, our managers, but what we've introduced is the performance-related fee. So we've started it, and we've taken on a few at the minute, which is doing quite well. Good. Thankfully, a lot of our competitors are still in the 1970s and don't use it, which is good for us. But where a lot of people and some corporates that wouldn't necessarily in the past have dropped the fees, they're dropping the fees now. So we're saying, all right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll match that fee. However, if we get above and beyond the asking price, then we'll get 10 pence in the pound, 20 pence in the pound, 25 pence in the pound. And a couple of things to see on that. One, we've got to be very confident that we're going to get more than the asking price. We've got to quickly work out in the brain. This is where you've got to count on your fingers and your toes. You've got to work out, right, well, what does 10 pence in the pound make? And what do you think I'm going to get? And added that onto my original fee. Am I going to come out with more or the same as? And the other thing we said is that if it's valued at 300 and we don't get 300, we get 299,999. So therefore we don't get the performance fee. Is the original fee okay? So it's not like, 600 quid or £1,000 or 12. Is it enough that even at the end of selling that house, we go, we didn't do amazing, but we did all right on it, or £2,000 or whatever the fee is. So we've just started introducing that. We had a good training session a couple of weeks ago on that, and the managers have got the bit between the teeth. So that's one thing we're doing to combat the really, really cheap fees. And we're just trying to improve our offering as well, just trying to improve the customer experience. And if we go out to value a property and we're up against somebody who's charging like 2/3 of our fee, we can say, oh, great. So for the extra third, what are they getting? Well, what do you mean? Well, what have they said about their 12-step process, and how was their brochure looking, and they didn't do none of that. Really? All right. Well, that's why we charge 600 quid more or 700 quid more. And trying to just show that value that we're offering more.
I think that's the key word, value. It's not rocket science, is it? Is if you want to charge more, you've got to show the value to the client, the seller. So that's interesting what you said about the fees. Then what you're doing. Have you done that before? Is that something you've tried before, or is it
the performance related one? No, brand new. I've got to give shout out to James Kendall, who was having a chat with, and he mentioned it. And it's just really good. Just loved the whole concept of it. Yeah, I've heard of the performance-related fee before, but I'd never sort of put two and two together. So, after having a chat with James, had a real good sort of research of it over, they do it in America, they do it all over the place, looked into various industries, and sort of got the best way that I think we can do it. So yeah, that's gone out. That's been out like last week or the week before, I can't remember. And they're really, really keen. And like we said to them, because one of the one of the concerns from one of our managers was like, well, it won't work in this situation or that situation. And we said, well, it's not meant to work in every situation. It's a bit like an auction. Yeah. We've got into auction in a big way because it's really good fees. It's a good product. It's another tool in your toolkit. And we've said, just whip it out as and when you feel it would fit the vendor. It's got to fit the vendor. Like rent to own, that's something else we're a big supporter of. Doesn't fit in all circumstances. So it's a case of, right, well, cheap fee, as in like we're going up against agents with cheap fee. It's a really, really hot market. So there's a good chance if it's priced keen, it'll go above. And the situation where our manager had said, well, what happens if you think it's worth 250 and the other agents say 270 and they're cheap? Won't work. Walk away. Simply walk away. It's not for us.
Yeah.
But equally, you've got to say to them, if you valued it at 250, another agent's valued at 250, and someone's coming widely over expensive at 300, you can very easily get around that and say, really, Mr. Vendor, do you think your property's worth 300 based on these comparables? No, I've discounted that. And in your head, you're going, great, one down, one to go. So all things being equal, including price, who would you choose? If they turn around and say, I'll choose Purtle Bricks, again, you're screwed. It's not going to work. So you've got to say, well, I'll choose you, John Castledine, brilliant, fantastic. So if I can match their fee, would you choose me? Absolutely, great. Well, listen, we offer so much more than Crap & Co. So what I can't do is I can match their fee on the front end. However, on the back end, if I get more than what you want for your property, I'm assuming you're happy to pay 25 pence in the pound. And you say 25 pence in the pound because 25 pence sounds a hell of a lot better than for every 10 grand, I'll give me 2.5 grand. Yeah. So yeah, it's, very, very early days. I want to get a couple of quick wins. I want us to perfect it. Just so happens that, my commercial director is a solicitor. So he's drafted up the clause and put that in the contract. So yeah, we're going to get that rolled out and see if that works. But yeah, I think if we can get a couple per branch per month, I think that'll be a big, big win for us.
I'll be really interested to see if anyone else is using that at the moment. So anyone else is watching. We've got someone saying, is Crap & Co NAEA approved?
No, Crap & Co not. Oh, that's Mr. Watkin.
It's got to be Watkin, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Chris. Yeah, Chris is also say if we're after a content man, he's happy to sub in. So tag team, Chris is in.
Could be in soon, Chris. There was going back to those fees. There was a while ago when some agents were trying. Pretty much, you pay us what you feel we are worth, and I don't know if any other agents who are watching have tried that approach. I suppose that's obviously a much more risky approach unless you have a minimum amount. But I must admit, a lot of the obviously I do a lot of courses in America, and a lot of them now are going down the approach of pay us what you feel.
Are they really?
Yeah, they are. They do have a minimum amount still, or suggested amount, but then they're saying this course is worth X amount, but we're going to allow you to pay what you can, and this is the suggested amount, and the suggested amount is normally the minimum amount you can put in. But it's interesting that that route you've gone down just to see how that goes, really. So a lot of agents I've been speaking to have been asking for ideas to try and increase valuations. I think that's a big thing at the moment. Is that something you're seeing at the moment? Still a lack of valuations?
Yeah, totally. Our May was not great across the board, if I'm honest. April was just crazy, brilliant. This month, thankfully, has started off pretty decent. I know 2/3 of the way through, it's going really well. But May was not good at all for some reason. So the latest branch that we bought in December, James Wynn, gets anywhere between 50 and 60 valuations a month, which is good for an agency in Thirsk. And then last month I had 34, 35, so down like 35, 40%. So it was down considerably, but again, it's back up again. So it swings and roundabouts. But the funny thing is, it was across all May, and a lot of my clients were saying they had a quiet May, not great for completion. So it's, yeah, I think the main thing is getting valuations, and the ones we are going to are just looking or not yet.
Yeah.
So demand is far outstripping supply at the minute, and hence, Paul, that's why a lot of people are, it's a northern phrase, just dropping the pants in fees. Like, agents are almost buying business, and it shows a severe lack of business sense because they're buying business at a loss. You cannot sell a house for less than £1,000. Like, you can't. And agents are doing it for 700 quid and 800 quid and 650 including VAT, and you're just not going to make any money. You're losing money.
Yeah, I agree, and I think. Do you think it's going to get worse before it gets better? Do you think it's?
I think so. I think just a gut feeling and just what I'm seeing on the market, because obviously, every day I'm on the portals and seeing what our competitors are doing, just because, I'm a bit geeky and I like to see what's going on. And we Spectre, I'm a big fan of Spectre, and that tells you what's on the market and when it's come on the market and stuff. I've actually written a couple more, or we've written a couple more letters to go out. So where before we had the trigger letters, where it was every 2, 5, 8, 12, 15 weeks or something, it tagged it out. We've now got, and we never did fallen through or withdrawn.
Yep.
Never did them, never felt the need. But now we've done 1 week on the market, like a new instruction from somebody else, and it's, listen, we've noticed you've, instructed Crap and Co. Best of luck. If any time you feel a bit miffed by the service, blah, 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 give us a ring. Never felt the need to do it now, but we are literally pulling out all the stops just to try and get into their minds of all the ones that we haven't been invited out to, like, straight away.
Yeah.
It's easier to get a business on once they've been let down by somebody else than market to somebody who doesn't know you exist.
Yeah, I agree. And I think right now, one of the things we're doing right now, and I think a lot of other agents speaking to them are really concentrating on is their data. Or this is the time. It should have been something which was always done, and then that would have really helped right now. But really getting into the systems of contacting your own data, so previous buyers, previous online valuations, previous valuations, and just having conversations with them.
Yeah.
And Stephen Brown, who I spoke to the other day, he said a really good question, which I thought was worth mentioning. He said, just speak to your previous buyers and who perhaps bought a couple of years ago and ask them, is their property still big enough for their needs? I thought it was a really good question right now, because a lot of them are probably thinking that they've outgrown their property, after being in lockdown and being at home, working at home a lot more, and their needs have changed now, where they need more rooms and places to work. I think tapping into that data and having conversations is so important at the moment, especially if we've got more time, less viewings, if there's less property on the market. So this is the time to really up that. Yeah,
it's we've got to be fighting for these valuations and stuff, and in the absence of everybody, I mean, you can't fix your price, obviously not. You can't, because that's a cartel. In fact, I'll tell you a story. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway. We bought a business. I'm not going to tell anybody when or where it was, because someone will work it out. But we bought a business, and the chap who had the business, he's been in the game. Well, he was in the game for quite a while, and he said back in the early noughties or late 99, 98, 99 or something, him and a couple of the other agents in this particular area fixed the prices. Wow. minimum prices, and he openly admitted this to us, and they got caught, and they got a massive slap on the wrist and a decent fine each. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting, price fixing in estate agency. But if anything, it's the other way around. It's like everyone's going around and saying, right, what's the cheapest we can sell this house for? We can completely screw our businesses over and give away our services for free. Everyone's like, yeah, 600 quid. I'll beat you. I'll do it for 550, 495. In fact, it's like that old Yorkshireman sketch. Have you seen it, the Monty Pythons? That's not cheap. This is cheap. I'll go to vendors. I'll pay him money to sell his house.
I think there are some agents who will not lose that instruction. Like you say, even if they have to do it for nothing, they just want that instruction, that board, and that's where it can go wrong.
I can imagine some of our competitors going and saying, they see our leaflets and our letters and they know what we charge minimum fees, and they're saying, we'll beat Castledine, we'll beat Hegarty's, we'll beat Gordon Lamb, whatever they charge, we will beat. One of our competitors, in fact, Dennis Dowens up in the northeast, 7-branch agency, their tagline is, we will not be beaten on price. That's their tagline. They are cheap as chips, but they do a lot of volume. He's been in business 35, 36, 37 years. But that's not the model that we want to be in. We want to be, we'd rather sell less properties, but have a higher margin. And, you can hide behind the BS of, I want to serve more people and I want to serve more customers and I want to do. If you want to serve more customers, go freaking work in Starbucks, right? If you're all you're bothered about serving people, go work there. We're in business to make money. Making money, making profit is not a dirty word. It's not. So I want to do the best job I can for the amount of people I work with, but I want to make as much money as I possibly can. Not compromising my morals and values and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of people really do think about they've got to go cheap to buy more. Not all business is good business. Sometimes the right decision is to walk away from business. It's just a shame. I would say well over 60, 70% of agents are panicking and are just decimating the prices. And the only thing that's going to, when this is hopefully this shit show, the profit and losses are going to be little. They're going to be in real financial difficulty. And what suffers is you can't have the same amount of staff. You can't give the same customer experience. And then the whole customer service just deteriorates.
Yeah, I think the customer experience is a huge one as well. So, if you want to make your fees higher, that's an important one. The experience that they have. People remember experience, don't they? They don't. They know that any agent can sell a property, but if they have a good experience and they see the value, that's when you're going to get those recommendations.
Just a good example of that is, the customer service is that's how you respond to a complaint. Customer service is if you drop a fork on the floor in a restaurant, how long it stands there, how long it's on the floor before a waiter picks it up. That's service, right? Yeah. Or, and how quickly they answer the phone. That's the service. The experience is so much more than that. The experience is the memories that you make. Yeah. Nobody remembers customer service. Everyone remembers customer experience. The customer service at Disneyland is not actually that big. It's not that good, is it? Because you wait in a queue anywhere from half an hour to 3 hours. For the Avatar ride, it was 4 hours when we were there. That's not customer service, but the whole experience that goes around it. And there's a couple of books there's one I read called Disney U, and he says it's all about the experience, not the service. So if we as estate agents and letting agents can and then hone in on the experience, not the service, that's important. But we want people to remember that. And then if you want to go see Paul Long and his family business, they were brilliant and they sent us this and they did that, and then I got a call here, and it's memories that people want to remember and experience.
Yeah, totally agree. So I saw you've got another boot camp coming up.
I have. It's all about systems. So that starts next week. That's 28th of July. That's for 4 nights. And there's 3 bonuses. So there'll be a bonus on the Thursday afternoon, the Friday afternoon, and then the Monday afternoon. And again, it's just how to systemize your business. It's one thing that has been really, really apparent is that agents are working harder than they've ever done before. There's a lot of people I know who are actually back on the tools. Staff are leaving. And a lot of staff are leaving businesses because the companies are not systemized and they're working all the hours God sends. So one of the things I thought was an appropriate time was to just talk about how, we've got a very low turnover of staff for a business our size. Our managers have been with us for a long, long time. We've got a couple of new managers, but, they're fitting in really well. And it's all about the systems and how we can make it easy for them. Nobody goes to work every day on a daily basis to have things just flowing at them. And we want routine and we want structure, right? We want to know what we're going into on a day-to-day basis. And that's what systems allow. So, so that's an online boot camp. I've got the links pretty much all over Facebook at the minute. So, yeah, just ping me a message or click on the link. And so looking forward to that. And then the bonuses are pretty cool. One's on about how to be a better communicator. One's all about how to run a business on logic and not emotion, like how to make those business decisions. And then the third one is how to be a CEO and not a boss.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between a CEO and a boss. And a CEO is very much head of a systemized business, employing the right people, sit around them, where a boss is literally sitting at the desk barking orders. And, a boss isn't a boss. It's really self-employed. So yeah, we're just trying to get that message out there.
There's a lot of those topics you just mentioned there are hard to find courses or training on, and I think there's a big lack of managers and even higher level people in the industry who've just had no training at all. Because I know we looked into it some time ago, and it's great you're going to be covering those angles, because I think there's definitely a lack of training there.
Oh, massive. And with all due respect to my training counterparts, it's not their topic. Just as something they do is not my topic. As far as I'm aware, and again, I don't mean to offend anyone. I hope I don't, but I think it is what it is. Any of my colleagues, training wise, don't own a business nowhere near the size of we do. It's 1 branch, 2 branch, or they might have consolidated but used COVID as an excuse, to get out of 1 branch. So, I am, and I've worked hard at this, to CEO. I'm not managing director. I'm not a self-employed business owner. So that's why I can speak from authority. And pretty much at the minute, every other book I'm buying, or every course I'm signing up to, or every online system I'm logging in, it's all about being a CEO. So, I've probably researched this for about 2.5 years, whilst I've been a CEO for about 3.5 years. And really and I've made loads of mistakes. Like the first thing was letting go. That was the hardest thing. Still being involved in certain aspects of the decision-making process. And, when you're a CEO, you've just got to let go and you've got to trust people. And effectively all you're doing now is the strategy, and just make sure you got the right bums on the right seats to keep the bus going in the right direction. So yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of stuff out there. Hence why I had to go away and research it myself. And funnily enough, I had to look outside the industry. So there wasn't a lot of stuff. In fact, there was nothing in the real estate industry I could find for a good 3 or 4 months on how to be a CEO. It was all about, prospecting or blooming this, or it was funnels. It was, nothing about running a business. It was all about the little tactics of running a business, not about the strategy. So yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of people are self-employed when they've got a business, and it's a shame, because everybody wants, at some point we're going to want to sell the business, and if we are integral to it, I think I put a post on the other week. I think I anticipated, looking back at my old notes, because every time we buy a business, I document the journey and the meetings and stuff and all that sort of jazz. And I think the most we knocked, so somebody asked for this and we knocked them down. And I think on average, it was around about 30% we reduced the business, the offer to the original price to what we bought it for, just based on the fact that they were integral to the business, the biggest being 40%. So they asked for $100,000 and we got them down to 60K.
Do you, is that one of the most common things you see, is where the owners just can't step back?
Massively. Yeah. So I would say 8 out of 10 times, it's like plain as the nose on your face. And then the 9th time, or 9th and a half, it's the owners trying to hide the fact that they're involved in the business. But then when you go through, so who does this and who does that and who does this? And we're going to need to speak to your MD. And, you can't speak to my MD. Why? If you're not integral to the business, why can't we speak to them? I don't want them knowing we're taking over the business. Well, look, we need to know what they do. So unless we can speak to them, and then you do speak to them, it's like, oh, no, Fred does all the valuations and Fred signs off the checks and Fred does this and Fred does that. And like, Fred, we need to have a chat, my friend. So, yeah, it's the vast majority. But if you want to get to a place where the owner doesn't get involved, you're looking at 20 branch plus on average, maybe 30 branch plus.
Right.
And there's not many of them going around.
No, I bet. But I think it's a lot of the times it's their baby, isn't it? That's why they want to be involved with everything, and it is difficult. it's a conversation I have with a lot of agents where they want to step back a bit, perhaps get someone to do the valuations, perhaps not be on the shop floor, but they just can't let go. So that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that people don't let go for is because they don't think somebody can do it as well as them. And do you know what? They're probably right. But it's like, you've got little ones and I have. And when Jack fell off his bike for the first time when we took his stabilizers, I didn't knock him off his bike and say, Daddy's going to show you how to ride a bike. It was like, right, get back on. They're going to fall off. Like, as soon as you take stabilizers off your kid's bike, they're going to fall off. When you watch them for the first time at football, they're going to fall over and cry and graze the knee. You know that. But you don't say, no, you can't ride your bike. I'm not going to let you play football. You don't wrap them up and cotton wool and put them away. And it's the same as the business. They're going to screw up. But if you've got the right training, the right development, and the person that you put in that position has got the right attitude, they're going to fail, dust themselves off, get on it again, learn from the mistakes, and learn and learn. And the only time we get better is by repetition, purposeful practice, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's like the first time you went out and did the valuations. I bet the first time you did it, you were crapping yourself and you weren't very good.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you get to the 10th time, you're like, piece of piss, this.
And I think when I did the valuations a long time ago, I never thought anyone would be able to replace me.
Yeah.
Once you've been doing it for a good few years, you just didn't feel like it. But to be honest, the person who stepped into our family business, he's better. He's better than me. But I never saw that. I just thought only me could do the best job because I was one of the directors and knew more about the business. But it's not always the case, is it? It's people often have to like that person and they're good at their job.
People recruit people like them. So people recruit mini me's, and you definitely don't want that because there's a reason that you're not in the business or you shouldn't be in the business. So I'm not the best letting agent in my business. I'm not the best estate agent, valuer, accounts person, marketer. You surround yourself with people. Yeah, probably from a leadership point of view and a strategy point of view, that's where my forte is. But I'm fine with that. I remember it was at a Christmas do, probably about 3-4 years ago. Somebody thought they were clever when they'd had a drink and we were talking. It was a bit less than that, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And somebody had had a drink and said, yeah, Adele runs this business. I went, yeah, I know. And they went, what do you mean? I went, that's why I hired her to run the business. You're saying it as if I should be pissed off. Thank you. I'm taking that as a compliment because my plan of getting somebody else to run my business works. Thank you. Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Put them back in the place. And so long as you realise that, and it's, is Richard Branson the best train driver he's got? Can he fly the planes, jumbo jets? Of course not. Is he the best waiter on Necker Island that he's got? Not a chance in hell. And I think once we get out that, and it is a bit cliche, but it is mindset, isn't it? It's mindset of, oh no, I can't give somebody. What happens if they? And the frightening thing is, the scary things things they're scared of is what happens if they take my business and they bugger off? What happens if they leave and there's a hole in the business? What happens if the customers and clients like them better than me? Well, if they bugger off, you can tie them in with share options and non-compete clauses, and if you treat them well, and why would they leave? But you can't. That's a bit like saying, oh, I'm not going to go out and cross the road because I've heard there's the odd car crash now and again. It's like you can't live your life in fear. You've got to live life the way it is and just roll with the punches because stuff's going to happen. Hopefully, if you treat people well and you're a good business person, you tie them in, they're not going to leave you. But it's inevitable. People will leave you. They're more likely to leave you if you hold them back and you don't allow them to progress than if you allow them a little bit of progression, they decide to leave.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Changing the subject, I've got quite a few people who've contacted me this week about negative comments, remarks, and trolls on social media. And I did a couple of videos on this week, but I thought I would give some advice on this, but also see if it's something which you have to deal with at all on social media. And it seems to be, I think my view is no one can escape it in our industry. It doesn't matter how good you are, because a lot of the time people have a bad experience with an agent or another agent, and we often get tarnished with the same brush. So when that agent, our post does appear in their newsfeed, they're going to make remarks. So I was asked quite a lot over the last couple of weeks how to deal with that. I think a lot of people, first of all, don't realize on social media you can just delete the remark or hide it. That's one thing that can be done. But I do think also you should think about, would a reply help to perhaps help gain business elsewhere? If there's a concern that someone's got, or there's a problem, and you can share it on social media and reply to that person, and then they're happy, that could help with someone else who's thinking the same. So I think do have a think about sort of the message or the remark that's been made. But if there is a potential there to perhaps help others with a reply, then I think that's something to consider. And then also there was the fact that there is the ability on your Facebook page to go into settings and to actually put in words which often people say about agents. I think a lot of people aren't aware of this, but on your Facebook page you can go into settings. You can go under page moderation under settings, and you can put all the words in. You can put as many as you want in there, all the swear words, all the horrible words that often get mentioned, or the words when people are moaning, and then it will stop the comment showing on any post or any advert that you've got. So that's one thing to remember as well, that you do have that ability on Facebook to do that. But just wonder if you have any advice on that at all, John, or that covers most of it.
Yeah, learn a martial art, learn how to find who they are, and kick the living shit out of them. That's literally my advice. Yeah, I'm being deadly. No, I'm not. I am actually, but no, it's exactly what you said. You're going to get them. I mean, was it Churchill said, "You've got haters, great." It means you've stood up to somebody or something along those lines. So you're going to get it. I mean, I used to be, you had to answer every single one. I still think you can and should answer things where maybe, and you've got to take a view on this, where if they're just out and out morons and they're just saying, why is this in my feed, effing and jeffing and C's and B's and all the other words under the sun, there's the policy I take is block and delete.
Yeah.
So you just get rid of them. If it's a case of and you feel as though you can turn it around, or you feel as though they were wrong and you can put your point across, then do it. This is why I quite like Google. I quite like Google reviews and all agent reviews, because all agent reviews, you can get it taken down if it's false and you can prove it. And the guys at All Agents are pretty good. Google reviews, we always answer them if it's negative. And you don't answer it like as a jerk, you answer it like factual.
Yeah.
And you've got to be careful with GDPR. Like, for instance, we had one person who'd said, didn't return my bond, blah, blah, blah. And what we said is, and we did actually get GDPR advice, and they basically said, it's still a grey line. Even though they brought it up, right, you're not meant to really disclose all the information, even though it was them that brought it up in the first place. So we said, they said, I didn't pay all your bond back. So we said, because we said, right, you're fully aware of why didn't you pay your bond back. You've seen sight of all the documents. And if you want to come in so we can explain yet again why it's not acceptable for the house to be left in that sort of mess, please get in touch with us. So it was grey, but we told them. So yeah, you've just got to take it, like, be very, very conscious of, you don't want to be getting into tit for tat. You just want to either block and delete it, or leave a statement where if other people saw it, you come across all right.
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter how frustrated you are at them, be very, very logical about it. And bring in a little bit of emotion. If it's empathy, I'm sorry you feel that way. I can totally understand. But as it's been explained, it was nothing down to us. It was down to the previous tenant, or it was down to so-and-so, or the council wouldn't do. So just be careful when you're responding.
I think the other thing is, if you don't want everyone seeing it, take it off the platform and tell them that you sent them a direct message, or you're going to make contact with them. And then obviously you can email, message, or contact them another way if you've got that ability to get it off social media. Interesting what you said about reviews. You're talking about Google's and All Agents. And I think one of the things perhaps that we often forget is if we've got some good systems in place, if you're reaching out to these people automatically and earlier, you can probably nip it in the bud anyway, the reviews being made. So if you've got a system where perhaps you do a customer care call before completion, or during the process of the house being sold, or during the sale itself, and you've got a couple of touch points, there's probably less chance that those reviews will appear, because you can try and sort them out, I would have thought.
Yeah, just constant communication. Yeah, you can't stop reviews, because some people are just habitual Google reviewers, and they'll just give you one no matter how good the service or experience you provided is. But you're dead right. Just the more you can't over communicate with people. You can under communicate, but you can't over communicate. And just the more times, is everything okay? Can we do anything to improve? Can you fill this in? Would you mind giving us a Google review? You know, we've not performed great in some instances, like the communication or whatever, but we've pulled it around at the end, and we've helped it, and we've got good Google reviews. You know, or some situation has happened, our fault or not, but because we've communicated well, they've said, look, you pulled it around, and you can say that on our Google reviews. And you know, I don't know if anybody's like, or wives or husbands or whatever is like my wife. We're not allowed to stop in a hotel unless she's bloody she's TripAdvisored it or Google reviewed it. It's a nightmare. So it's a bit like, you know, nobody's going to use your estate agency unless it's a recommendation, unless they've read your Google reviews.
Yeah.
So get your Google reviews as high as you possibly can.
Definitely. Right, before you disappear.
Right, I won't.
Because there's only me this time. Football score prediction tonight.
3-1 conversion to Johnny Wilkinson.
What are you going to say there?
Can I be honest? I don't even know who we're playing. I'm not a massive footy fan.
We'll just say if England are going to win or not.
Yeah. Who we're playing?
We're playing the Czechs.
Oh, yeah, checkmate to us. We'll beat them. Yeah, easy.
I'll make my prediction, and I'm going to be really boring here. I think it's going to be another draw.
Really?
Yeah, I think. I just think that they. I don't know. I don't know if Southgate's been very clever, or if he's, or they're no good. But I think he's just trying to get that second place, or the. Apparently, the further they finish down, the less chance that we meet sort of the better teams. So this is the table that the group they're in, and the table results. So I don't know.
I'm just sick of Grealish. My son's talking. I mean, he's only 11, and he knows more about football than me. And he's talking about Grealish, and I went, "That sounds like a really shit pasta dish." Are you sure he's not like no, he's brilliant. He's playing for Aston Villa and he's awesome and he's this and he's this. I went, all right, son, whatever. It's football. No,
all right. Well, on that note, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thanks, then. Thanks, John.
See you, mate.